Thank you to Pine Hosting for sponsoring this video. This might be the most exciting Project Zomboid mod I've ever played so far. If you want to play this mod with your friends, stick to the end for the best offer of your life. This is the Day 1 mod. It is an extension made by the same author who created the Bandits mod. In the original Bandits mod, it introduced hostile NPCs to your game. However, in this version, the NPCs aren't hostile right off the bat. Instead, they're trying to survive just like you, fighting off the newly infected zombies that used to be their neighbors just a few hours ago. The idea behind this mod is to simulate what the first day of the outbreak would have been like, and it is absolute chaos. There are tons of people running around trying to fight off the undead, and hordes of zombies everywhere. And after a few hours, the military bombardments start raining down fire, burning all the buildings in the vicinity as the world falls apart. This is how I survived the very first day of the apocalypse. I chose Rosewood as my starting town and spawned in the police station. Immediately, I was greeted with utter chaos. There was a loud siren in the distance, constant gunshots, and dozens of people engaged in combat. Since this was my very first time playing this mod, I didn't know what to expect, so I wanted to find a weapon immediately. In my hurry, I made a rookie mistake and a zombie managed to suck on my fingers. I have to admit that it turned me on a little bit, but now wasn't the right time. Already, this was not a very good start. Not only was I sexually frustrated, but I was already hurt and bleeding without any weapons or bandages. I managed to find 3 axes in the storage room, and then a helicopter flew by with a safety announcement.
Attention citizens, this is a public safety alert. There is an outbreak of violent behavior in the area. Stay indoors and lock your doors and windows. Do not approach or attempt to engage with any individuals exhibiting aggressive behavior. Await further instructions.
Fortunately, there were medical supplies in the other room, so I was finally ready to face the world outside. As I was fighting a zombie, a random NPC opened the door and pointed a gun in my direction. I wasn't sure if she was hostile or not, so I was ready to bury my axe into her cranium. Fortunately, it seems like they're still upstanding citizens and are focused on fighting the undead. For now. I made my way back to the police station and picked up some guns and ammunition. I figured that it would be smart to start leveling up my aiming now, since the NPCs aren't hostile yet. So I shot at the zombies for a little bit, then headed back to the fire station for some loot. And that is when the bombing started. Randomly around the map, there would be sudden explosions, setting fire to everything without mercy. The explosions were luring all the zombies towards me, so I always had a horde on my tail for as long as the bombs were being dropped. I spent the next 20 minutes trying to loot around the area for some food, as hordes of zombies and balls of fire were trying to kill me. That is when I saw a group of survivors out in the field, shooting at the zombies. I was incredibly happy to finally find a group of survivors. But unfortunately, they were overrun in a matter of seconds. As the undead horde tore apart my newly found friends, I stumbled into a squad of soldiers right above me. There were at least a dozen of them, and they were armed to the teeth with heavy firearms. If I had any real chance of surviving, it was going to be with these guys. For the first time in this entire playthrough, I finally felt safe. For the rest of the day, I was desperately trying to find a safe spot to lay low, even just for a few minutes. But no matter where I went, there were always tons of zombies eager to take a bite out of my penis. I wandered around town for hours, searching for anything that could help me lose the zombies trailing behind. I kept walking until nightfall, but the bombs just kept dropping throughout the night, drawing all the zombies right toward me. At that point, I figured that if I couldn't lose them, maybe I could use the bombings to my advantage instead and disintegrate the entire horde. If you've watched my other videos, you know I hate using fire to kill zombies. I find it kind of gay to rely on burning them instead of fighting them head-on. But at this point, I'd been walking for what felt like forever, and the zombies were already on fire anyway. Out of nowhere, as I was waiting for the zombies to burn, I saw someone screaming for help. Something I'd heard too many times already today. However, this time, the text I saw was red instead of the usual green. It finally happened. It seems like the NPCs had finally turned hostile. Little by little, more people started coming out from different directions, and I was getting very worried that enough of them would arrive and overrun me. So to try and get away, I desperately tried to find the keys to the vehicles nearby, and it almost cost me my life. But then, I realized that even though the bandits tried their best to come at me, none of them could get close enough to actually be a threat, because the surrounding horde would just devour them completely. In the end, I didn't even have to lift a finger, and the burning zombies eradicated the entire bandit group for me. After all the bandits were finally gone, I noticed that my negative moodles were finally catching up to me. Because of my smoker trait, my anxiety was getting so bad that it was also making me depressed. Not to mention the pain and extreme panic that I was also suffering from. All these negative moodles were significantly lowering my combat stats, and it was only going to get worse if I didn't start treating them. So I decided that I had to find cigarettes. But there was no way I could thoroughly check and loot the buildings without getting molested by 15 zombies at once. But I had no choice. I had to try. So I went to the one place that I knew was guaranteed to have cigarettes, which was the convenience store. But as I made my way there, I realized that there were even more zombies that had gathered in that area, and they had spotted me. I spent some time walking around in circles, waiting for all the zombies to turn to ash. But it seemed like every time one zombie burned, 2 more zombies would take its place. In the end, I was getting tired, and my moodles were getting worse, so I decided to just send it. Luckily, I made it out alive without a scratch, although my testicles did quiver as I was trying to exit the building. It also seems like most of the zombies followed me into the convenience store, and I assume they burned both themselves and the building to the ground. It was at this point that I noticed something different. There were no more explosions, no more sirens, no more helicopters, and no more jets flying by. It seems like the worst had finally subsided. So the last thing I did was take care of the last few zombies that hadn't burned completely, and then I found a working vehicle that was finally going to get me out of this god-forsaken town. This was one of the best and most fun I've ever had in Project Zomboid, at least in single player, and I cannot even begin to imagine how amazing the NPC official update is going to be 43 years from now. Even though only our great-grandchildren will be able to play it, at least we have this mod. And one thing that could make this mod even greater is if you play it with your friends. That is why it is absolutely perfect that we are sponsored by Pine Hosting, because they are giving you guys a 30% discount if you use the code SWAID. On their website, you'll be able to create a high-performance server in minutes with their extremely easy user-friendly panel. And their prices are incredibly affordable for such a premium service. Their workshop installer alone makes adding mods seem so effortless. And even if you already have an existing server, they will personally help you move it from another host. And they don't just host Project Zomboid, they also do a ton of other great games. Don't forget to use the code SWAID for a 30% discount. See you on the next video.